A princess with billowy pants, Princess Beetlesheen was unfortunately named, but the royal naming tradition had to be upheld. An unfortunate appearance ensured she was considered, at best, a mockery of nobility by her peers, her comically long ears akin to twin blades of grass that bowed under their own mass towards her shoulders, her height putting her a head shorter than the shortest of her peers, and a heart-shaped face with dimples. Dimples, of all things. She was the complete opposite of the noble ideal, a regal, diamond-shaped face with sharp lines, tall and angular in physique, with lozenge ears no larger than a person's palm. As a final ancestral gift, her natural skin tone was a reddish shade of burnt umber. That particular coloration was more associated with peasant farmers who had been tanned and burned by the sun for decades. Whether it was from respect for the system and knowing her standing as lesser nobility or an innate calmness, Princess Beetlesheen took her open mockery with a warm, dimpled smile and self-deprecating humor. Such was her good nature and stoicism that her family's peasants began to hold her in fondness, using her example as an ideal for their own hardships. Their fondness grew as Beetlesheen began to come of age, which meant taking control of various family holdings and responsibilities. Her kindness and humor was gifted to all, not just her betters. Despite her family's limited holdings, their yields began to contest several families of higher station. The subtle shift to the balance of power was corrected by the other families, and new vicious rumors spread. The eve of the nobles' test was quickly approaching for Beetlesheen's generation. Though it was a tradition from campaigning season millennia ago, wherein young nobles would lead their first campaign, it had slowly become a combination of feasts and an opportunity for noble families to show off their wealth and power. All the noble-born would venture into the wilderness to return with a household guard befitting their position. Most of these household guards consisted of lesser nobles and children of affluent merchants and artisans, whose status as a member of an honor guard was highly sought after. Unless you were a lesser noble from a more impoverished family, then your options were limited. Rightfully, so far as the nobility was concerned. Lesser nobles would leave up to 2 weeks earlier, foregoing the feast itself, to recruit as best they could from peers and even workmen. Some would even dress up peasants to fit the role, usually going over the top with uniforms to take a chance at garnering favor via comedy. Weird little Beetlesheen left a full month early. Such an unusual departure prompted more ridicule and mockery. Maybe the rumors were true, she did inspire her peasants through sexual favors and gratification. She'd have to be on her back a long while to gather a household guard, even one of just peasants. Her immediate family smiled and laughed along, having given up Beetlesheen as an unfortunate casualty of noble politicking. As the recruitment phase of the nobles' test was coming to a close, the various young nobles began returning with their household guard. As expected, the nobles from the richest families arrived first and had the most household guards. Some exceeded the standard count of 1,000 guardsmen by 200 or 300, fielding not only musket and rifle infantry but cavalry and lancers. On the day of the final feast, Princess Beetlesheen finally returned. She entered the parade grounds on horseback at the head of only 100 infantry. The count was truly pathetic, but drew everyone's eye. The 100 infantrymen wore Beetlesheen's family colors, but their outfits were bizarre. Billowy, light trousers of a butterscotch orange fluttered in the wind as they walked, a small jacket in periwinkle that barely reached their waists and was left open, with a grey-blue waistcoat. Atop their heads sat what looked like a floppy, far too light winter cap of that same butterscotch orange, but their ostentatious outfits weren't what kept everyone staring slack-jawed. It was that every one of the 100 infantry were human. Humans? In an elfin household guard? They were violent barbarians, whose roughness was good enough to establish multiple kingdoms and nation-states but could never match those of elfin fame. An arrogance that persisted despite the empire adopting human tactics, strategies, and industrialization. Such was the shock of the nobility and their newfound guards that they just watched as Beetlesheen's infantry broke into groups of 25 and assumed positions at the parade grounds, As Beetlesheen approached the gathered nobles, someone cracked a joke about her soldiers. They might be human, but they still couldn't hold formation. How befitting of someone like her. She just smiled, even offered a giggle. She hopped down, quite literally, from her horse, dressed in a similar outfit to her company. She climbed the podium, offering a proper curtsy. "They're quite irregular, aren't they?" She grinned. "They really don't like holding line, and appreciate their elbow room." She turned to regard the regiments at parade. "They do stand out. Even if there are so few." She turned and produced a document from her jacket. "I'd like each of you to sign your consent. I'm in charge now." The laughter was riotous, complete with several nobles falling over. "I mean it," she persisted. "I have a mixed regiment at my command. This is one company. The rest have, at my order, moved in and secured your factories and other holdings." There was a moment of silence followed by indignant protests. Some mentioned that there was the regular army, an army which dwarfed her minuscule regiment. "You have an army of unwilling conscripted peasants that hate you. They love me, and they treat me with more respect and reverence than you ever have. Please make your mark." That sparked even more protest and indignation. "There's a combined overstrength army corps of household guards here. How do you expect to win?" barked one of the young nobles. Beetlesheen turned to regard him with a dimpled smile. "You brought toy soldiers to parade in pretty uniforms. I brought an army. An army that thinks I'm cute as a button and that I have splendid ideas about equality and representation." She laughed. It was at that point a disturbing realization began to dawn on the nobles and their guards. Those humans had positioned themselves to surround the larger elfin force, and those humans had entered with fixed bayonets.